Hello everyone! Today I am testing a brand new thing. Haven't really done this before, but we're gonna try it out. I asked for a few viewer submissions on Blue Sky today. And I'm gonna do some of the codes for now. And we'll probably do more of them later, because I did get a lot more submissions in this. But I picked out 3 codes for today. So, I'm gonna go through the games. Everyone here submitted the games to be part of it, so they're on stream. We have from Oven Goats, this game. Scrim, Division 4, Expo player. We have... I closed my tweet, that's awesome. Pull back up the other tweet. We have Vita, tryout Scrim for a team, or the Glugas are a tryout, Div 8 and 9, so lower level. And then we have Sam, who is Div X or Div 1 level or so, in the losers finals of a paddling pool. So we have 2 support players and 1 backline player today. Variety of div levels, and we're gonna basically take a look at these games, give my thoughts on them, all of that, and we'll be, trying this out and seeing if it's helpful. And yeah, I should probably put in my tweet who I am reviewing today, so I need... This is going to be slow, isn't it? Okay, hold on. Today, I reviewed... I'm gonna tag the people who I reviewed so that it's obvious. 1 second. Okay. Well, since you're in chat, actually, we'll start with Expo. We'll just do these in order. That way I don't mix them up. All right. Any specific notes I need to look at for Explo? Let me double check while we load into this game. Okay, I'm guessing this is the same team, given the tag. Okay, this person thinks that they tunnel visioned a few times and need to work with their teammates during fights more. She's just interested in hearing another perspective. Watch me almost throw by spending way too long trying to break a beacon no one jumps to. Okay, awesome. Alright, so first what we're going to do... Hi, Vita. First, what we're going to do is we're going to do what I like to call pre-watching. So we're going to watch the game first without really doing much coaching or anything, just to kind of get a POV on what's going on. We're going to take a look. We're just going to watch the game out in full, and then we're going to go through and critique it. So this is just to get a basic idea of what goes on during the game. Not something you necessarily have to do, but I like to do it. Just so I get a basic idea of what's going on in the game. And it's especially nice because I'm reviewing a bunch of people who I have never watched before. So it'll give me a little bit of a better idea as to what's going on. This is Div 4, I believe. Or I had people obviously just estimate their level. I'm not going to fact check people's levels, I'm assuming for a coaching review we're not going to lie about our Div level for no reason. So I'm kind of just assuming. So my bad if I have everyone's div wrong. Did we get splashdown canceled by missile? No, we got splashdown canceled by the charger. That is a really good hammer throw. We're really caught in the middle, but the aim is going very well. I'm very curious if we greed. Okay, we do. We do have a bit of greeding going on. We wanted the epic crab kill after the first double. This is a very tricky position to play. Okay, we're peeking Charger a lot. I am noticing. We are very, very much peeking Char. You're not respecting the enemy Charger player. You gotta do that on this weapon. Expo gets farmed by Charger. It's very slow and sad. Nice. The aim is pretty consistent. Bring back Rain Explo. I'm gonna be honest, if I saw Rain Explo and it wasn't a very specific map, my first comment would be pick this Explo. Change it to this one. So if anything, we're on the right track picking the custom Explo. Is definitely what we want. I do think we might need a little bit of work on the splashdowns. Because getting value out of your triple splashdown is very tricky these days, but it is very important for this weapon. I think here we're going to use it for a zone cap, which is not great. Yeah. But I want to use splashdown for better clearing, mainly. Especially on a map like this, there's a lot of places you can use splashdown very safely. It'll be a little trickier with Charger, but there's a lot of ledges or trenches and stuff you can drop the splashdown into, especially the corners are very useful, because you can put one on each wall. That's very useful. This spot's pretty common for Expo. Oh, we have Haunt. I see the Haunt. Haunt makes a lot of sense on Explo. I think that's fair. It's not, like, super common, but yeah, I could see the vision with that. It's a weapon that benefits from seeing people through walls. We're not looking at Crab here, which is very interesting. We should be looking at Crab. Are we going to splash down for zone cap again? Oh, we are. Oh, we hit the ceiling. That's unfortunate. Don't hit the Robin. This is unfortunately the trap that happens when a weapon, or special in this case, gets the ability to zone Shees, is you will then go and use special in weaker locations because it caps the zone now. Very unfortunate. A lot of our jump backs into zone are into bad positions. I don't think we actually lack stealth. No, we do. We have stealth, right? Where is Expo? Yes, we do have stealth. We don't have any swim on our main abilities here. I need to switch to someone else's POV when the Expo gets killed. I need to see what our sub-abilities are, because we don't have any swim speed main abilities here, which I think is very important for this weapon, so I'm kind of curious where our gear set is. I got top 32 for recovery. Yeah, this kind of splashdown we don't want to be doing. I actually don't remember if we win this game or not. But it's last team fight, so either we're going to win or something will go horribly wrong. Oh, okay, something went horribly wrong. Ah, uh-oh. Yeah. Ah, that stuff. I knew it was over when I saw the Crab. Actually, is it? No, we can't get to zone in time. Maybe we can, actually. Never mind. I lied. Splashdown's gonna save the day. Nice. Okay. Okay! Alright. Now we actually do coaching. So. We're playing... Okay. I want to talk about Expo Edit first, right? So, the way I see Edit, in general, but especially Crab Edit, right, is Edit's a generally very self-sufficient weapon at dealing with people running Edit. So, a lot of the cases of this comp is going to be the Edit is watching some kind of flank, or covering part of the map, or being in an anchor position. And the Explo is going to be responsible for poking damage forward to set up the Wiper and Paintbrush to go in and kill everybody. Obviously, it'll change a little bit sometimes, especially when we have Crab, because Crab will kind of make some overlap happen. But what I see from this is generally, okay, you probably don't need to watch the flank very often. You can usually focus damage on the other team. They also have a Charger, and as we've established from the pre-watch, that Charger kind of demolishes this weapon in the open. So we need to find active, aggressive positions where our damage is in enemy terrain, but we are safe. The other team doesn't really have a whole lot of good answers for that. Charger can use Crab to clear it, but that will slow down the Charger. Missiles can obviously do it, but missiles aren't going to be that common. And that's about it. That's really the only things we have to worry about. So, yeah. This is the Paintbrush's wall. Okay. So, I would not open this angle with Explo, like, pretty much ever on top right, because you have, like, no cover on this side of the map. So, a lot of my questions for more aggro Explo, if you're trying to push, is where are we going? Where are we scaling? Because we're a backline weapon, so we don't have a lot of mobility. So when we move around, it takes a lot of time. So if we're going to scale forward, the way we work around that problem is you need to scale into a position that has a lot of natural cover that you can work around. Case in point, the center of the map doesn't do that. You're also surrounded from multiple sides. What I think is really valuable for Expo on this map is the ability to hit around this wall here to poke weapons like Charger. Like if you stand behind, you know, kind of the glass wall if your team is pushed forward, or even on the wall behind it, or even in the trench behind it to like scale to the wall. You can basically shoot around the corner, and it's pretty good. You do have to worry about being dived but if their more aggressive weapons are already back there, you're going to have a lot going for you. So when I'm scaling, especially if I'm against like a charger or something, you wouldn't want to be as central. You need to take like a little bit more of an angle away from where the enemy team is, and you also want to try to not be in the middle of the action as much. So you're centralizing yourself in the middle of all the enemy team's fire, like every single opponent is surrounding you currently. Like the knot could even be further right if they wanted to. No one's really stopping them from taking the better angle. So it's a very greedy opening play that I don't think really makes a whole lot of sense because the punish window is just very high. If your team doesn't immediately find like 2 kills, you're going to die. Pretty much every time. I also would not really use wall this kind of frequently in the open. I don't remember if this was a big issue throughout the game. I don't think it was. But generally, until you have LDE, I wouldn't use wall very much at all. You usually aren't going to need it, and the only time I would really rely on it is if you're, like, know you're going to stand in open sight lines, and you have to use the wall for that, like if you were going to go stand in front of the charger here. But, like, you have no reason to stand in front of the charger here. You can poke for your teammate on bottom right, like, basically that entire thing from where you are. You can cover the left side, you can paint zone. You have, like, a lot you can do from here, so you won't really need to, like, scale into any dangerous position at this point. So you might as well not use your wall and have, like, more ink efficiency to contest here. Like, even here scaling into the wall, like, do we need to scale, like, directly over here? Because your team is fighting bottom right. It's like, either you're taking the angle wider, or you're going to go follow them rather than position over here. We're caught in the middle again. Or back to the center. This is, like, really the time where I need you to scale forward, you know, instead of staying in the middle of the map, though. Like, I want you to try to get into bottom left and get wider for your team. Because right now your team's, like, pretty much just in a straight line. Like, this is kind of the line forward. And you guys are just walking at them and they're walking at you. But they have a charger and they have player advantage. So they're just going to kind of sit here and spray you. And your team doesn't have any advantage. The other downside is your edit is also going to be clumped with you. And these are 2 slow weapons you generally don't want next to each other. Like, these 2 are good at a comp together, of course, but they don't want to be standing in the same position as each other. They want to be spread out and doing different things, generally, so that your slower weapons aren't overlapping with a lot of their flaws. So, like, in this case, if the charger stares over here, you both are very screwed, which is kind of what ends up happening here, except the charger crabs. I don't know, where. Same with the scaling for the fist, and this is kind of what I want to talk about with Splashdown, right? Generally with Splashdown, what you're looking for is you want the fist to be going for something, but you don't want to be in danger. So the problem with this Splashdown is that you're poking in the open, and you can actually get the fist around this wall without you yourself poking around the wall. You can use it from, like, right behind the wall. You can, like, squid roll to the left a little bit and use it behind the wall, and your 2 fists will still peek the wall, but you're going to stay behind it once you splash down back down to the ground. So that means if you survive, you're already behind cover. Your main splashdown, not the fist, will be painting you, and you can immediately move back into cover. But here, even if you didn't die as fast as you did, you have nowhere to go. So even if you survive your splashdown, you're now stranded in the middle of nowhere, and you're going to be free picking for any of the other team to really clean up. Good job. So I like the scaling over here until you're around the pillow, because, like, yes, you can see a little bit better around the pillow, but now the other team can see you, right? We don't know where the charger is. If the charger's set up, you're in trouble here peeking in the open. And you're also just shooting at snipe anyway, and with your right side of the pillow here, you can hit every position that you can hit right now. So your positioning doesn't give you any shots you didn't already have. The only difference is you're in more danger to the charger here, right? It's like you're immediately getting shot, you're getting sprayed, and you can kind of just see it right here because you're standing in the open. And then the second thing I would say is if you put yourself in that situation and then you're fortunate enough to somehow survive and kill half the enemy team, to then dip out and not greed. The crab being up here looks like kind of scary. It's a crab in high ground. But this is a very defensive position, and the only player that's able to scale off of this crab is the Nautilus. So really the only threat on their team here is the not walking in. You can kind of hold your ground defensively. You don't need to be moving at all. So you don't have to force this kill. And if anything, it can often just be better to let the crab duration play out so they lose all of their special, rather than if they die to a headshot, they'll, like, stay alive. But this crab gets a lot of value because both you and the wiper just fight it. So now this crab that would have had nothing to do suddenly has a lot to do. And now their team gets to walk in immediately. Okay, well, there makes a little more sense. So it's similar deal here when you're peeking charger and when you're moving around here. I want you to try to look at how easily you kind of step into the open. Because if I'm right here and I see the Dapple and the Charger and the Nautilus, it's like, okay, you're going to have to take a fight with something, but put yourself in a 1v1. You know, try to minimize the amount the enemy team can affect you. So if I'm, you know, if I'm you as this Expo over here, I'm getting behind this wall as fast as possible, because then the only person I have to deal with is the Dapple Dooley. I can pay full attention to trying to scout out where they are, trying to hit them, try to get help from my team, whatever. But if you're standing and you're still here in the open, the rest of their team is also helping the Dapple to deal with you. So much more of like actually hugging and trying to play around cover and like moving to it quickly would be good. Fighting this is really good because obviously your edit just went down, so it's your responsibility. Okay, so I don't even know which spawn we're at this point. I kind of got lost. Hold on. Is this our spawn? No, this is their spawn. So we play their spawn. We get missiled. Okay, so we're dealing with the other team behind us. First off, if you're being missiled, you should never go into zone because the missiles are then going to paint zone. That's obviously not going to be good. But okay, if you think they're in your base, right, and you can't stay in their base, you need to pick a corner of the map and walk into it. You can't walk back to your own base because that's where the other team is. So the corners of the map are going to be your friend in this case because this is where the aggro players are or whoever's jumped behind. So the corners of the map are going to be vacant at this point. If we check the map, look, both corners of the map are vacant. So like the paintbrush, totally safe. So you can actually just dip down into the corner, which is normally a very aggressive position, but you know that they're behind you and the other ones are coming from spawn, so the corners of the map become very safe. And you can kind of just sit here and paint passively, and you don't really need to force anything, because your team is like such a good position. But the panic there just kind of like brings you into zone, brings the missile into zone, which is just, you know, a lot. Like, here is what I want you to do more when you position, just kind of how you stay close to the pillow. So you constantly have, like, you know, somewhere you can hide behind, get a little bit of cover. Just this, like, small thing is much, much better positioning a lot of the time. Just because you're a little bit safer. The second you peek here, you're in a lot more trouble. And I'm not trying to tell you not to scale, but I'm telling you when you scale, you cannot just take the middle of the map like this. When you're scaling, if we look from an overhead, right, what does your team need here, right? You need an angle to push in. I think the paintbrush probably dies here, right? So you have front lines that are regrouping, that we're playing around. You need to get them into positions, and you need to help clear space for them to set up. So like the paintbrush or wiper are usually going to want to go bottom right or bottom left. They're going to want to take these wide angles where they can find 1v1s. They can use the kind of cover and short range favored terrain, you know, to kind of walk in, take advantage of it. So you need to clear those parts of the map. What does scaling mean? Good question. Scaling is taking forward space, right? So we're trying to advance our current position more forward than it is right now. That's really all that we're trying to do here. So right now, our furthest position is right behind Snipe. So if we approach from only Snipe, we are basically coming at a line into the other team, right? We don't have any other angle of attack or anything. So if you look at their team as they respond to this, right, you see how they have these corners of the map effectively. So the second you push in from this angle, you're effectively surrounded from all sides. And furthermore, whatever you do, these players can respond really effectively because they have a lot of cover around them. So once you splash down, both the Pro and the Dapple Dooley are both able to go to the corners of the map and stay safe. Okay. So we need to restrict the enemy team more and open up more avenues for our team first before we take into the zone, right? Because even if our splashdown caps the zone, we don't have any space on the side, so the second you're dead, the enemy team can walk in. They know where you are and everything. So you need here to focus on taking the sides of the map. Now, splashdown could be very effective for this. If you're trying to clear bottom right very quickly, you can just drop fists down there. That'll also get you a, you know, it'll get you an ink tank refill, which is good for keeping uptime. And then you can just kind of poke expo shots to clear out parts of the map so that when your teammates walk in, there's already paint there. Unless if the zone is tiny or being painted by another special or something, I would practically never try to splash down cheese zone. The splashdown and the fist don't paint at the same time. It barely caps zone, and it usually requires special power, which as far as I know you don't have. and you probably shouldn't be running very much of anyway. It's just not really the highest priority. I'm okay with painting the trench a little bit. This is going to be a little nitpicky, because I'm trying to make you move a little bit faster here. Painting the trench is okay. The reason I'm not happy with it is because you have a wiper who is immediately trying to push their side, and if you're trying to push their, if like they're pushing the enemy side, I'd highly recommend that you go with them. You really want to be like a rapid with this weapon at times, where if you see one of your aggressive teammates pushing in, you kind of just want to tag behind them and follow them and shoot at the same people they're fighting. It's like, especially if it's something like a stamp, or one hit of your gun is going to make it much easier for them to trap and fall up on opponents. Like, I'd really like you to be here sooner for this kind of engage. I don't know if there was just a lack of a team call, or we didn't react to it, or whatever, right? But, like, you being here probably makes a major difference on how that stamp works out. What I will say is that the angle you have is very nice, but you're still kind of, like, scaling too heavily here, right? Like, in this case, you kind of need to keep snipe clear, because your job is still to restrict the enemy team with Explo. So if you don't have front lines pushing in here, which you don't right now, there's not a whole lot of attention, you need to try and narrow the enemy, you know, the enemy's route of attack here, right? So if you shoot at snipe, your goal is basically to cut off this bottom right side as an area of an attack. You want to condense the enemy team into top left. So you don't need to go all the way for this pro, because your job isn't to keep them from walking through the middle of the map. Often them walking through the middle of the map is actually fine for you guys. You have a lot of tools to deal with that. You need to keep the sides of the map under control. So if you're covering right side, you have to watch this drop area, because the main threat is this Nautilus gets this crazy angle, and it becomes like a big threat to your team that other people have to respond to. So in this case, you cover snipe. You don't extend as far. Just hold the angle that you're on. You're on a very powerful position here. And if they push in, they'll eventually have to walk into your range anyway, and you'll be able to contest them that way. Okay. The camera, work with me for a minute. Thank you. Okay. If there's ever a crab this far back, you should be helping with this. You're one of the few weapons that can easily hit behind the crab to force its ball form, and this is in front of your entire team, so you need to take care of it. Cutting off the other players doesn't make as much sense here, because this crab is separating the rest of your team. You need your team to be taking space more quickly, so you can't be ignoring the crab here. You need to contest and get the crab out. I also would not drop here until snipe is clear, because you can clear snipe without dropping, so you don't really have to drop at all there. I would have just stayed. Here's a similar deal to the last splashdown, right? Like, are your sides of the map cleared? No. Right. Your wiper is still fighting a charger, which I don't know how the charger is here, but the charger is here somehow. And then you have, like, your brush fighting someone in spawn. You're kind of ignoring where the rest of your team is going, which, yeah, maybe it'll get you to zone a little bit faster, but, like, you need the space that your teammates are fighting in, you know? And in this case, you're kind of leaving them to their own devices. They win the fight, that's great and all, but I'd rather you help them first. You can get the zone later. You have, like, another 28, no, you have, like, another 37 ticks until they get lead. So you don't have to rush the retake as much. Win the fight more cleanly so that your hold can be stronger. Right, this is the same thing scaling-wise, right? You're trying to hit behind snipe, but you're taking, like, an unnecessary angle here. You're Explo, you have plenty of range, you can hit behind this wall from way further away. So there's no reason for you to go this far forward, right? You're only putting yourself in more danger. And again, you're a backline, your weapon's slow on rotating, so you don't want to have to rotate around the map as much, because that's a lot more downtime for you than it is for other weapons. So all this time you're spending down here is time the enemy team is going to be moving, and less time you're going to be like, putting all of these shots in front of them that are going to slow down their retake. So by the time you get back to the position, you know, the knot's already scaled, and this problem has already gotten too great. Alright, nice. Good teamwork. Yes, like, look how strong this angle is that you walk in, right? Because this, you know the trench is clear, you walk, you hit the charger, you're here, and you already can, like, just dip behind the wall if anything goes wrong. You know, you have immediate cover around you. And when you get the kill, look how fast you scale into their side, right? Because your team is pushing this, like, ramp that we talked about. Look how quickly you can already start affecting the position. Like, you're already shooting behind it immediately. You walk in, you damage the charger, you walk forward, you damaging their snipe. Like, it's very just fast and very natural movement. That's really, really effective for you. right? And that's why splashdown can be so cool in these positions, because the only way they can deal with you is they're going to have to rush you down, and then when they rush you down, you can pop your splashdown and kill them. And you'll already be near natural cover so that you don't get shot by long-range weapons when you pop splashdown. Okay, same thing here. Don't round the corner. Just splashdown around it. Your splashdown doesn't need to kill things. You don't have to greed for really large splashdowns here. I wouldn't be going for that. Your splashdowns need to be safer. Just, you know, take advantage of the damage for your teammates to work off of. Stay behind cover. You don't need to greed this much, right? We're going for way too much with our splashdowns. This isn't like a huge game-altering special. Oftentimes, it just needs to extend or keep momentum going. That's what it's good for with Explo, is it just gives the weapon a way to continue doing what it's already doing. The main weapon of Explo is still very strong in this game. The chip damage is good, the pain is good, it's a very active weapon. Splashdown's job is just to keep it doing what it's doing. You don't need to try and, like, get particularly high value off the special itself. All you need to do is, like, continue your momentum with Explo. Kind of use it as a way to make sure you're continuing the, you know, whatever method of tool you're, whatever method of, like, pushing in you're doing. Same thing with the rotation here, right? Like, why drop off snipe? You don't need to do it here. You can just stay further back. Alright, and then I think that was just the rest of the game here. So we're wrapping up on this one. We get the overtime that we saw earlier. Okay. So, overall thoughts, right? I think the main bad habit that needs to be worked on in general, is I think we're, like, peaking a lot and going very, very forward when we're trying to be aggressive. Trying to be aggressive and trying to be active on the map is fine, but you can't, like, overextend and get yourself picked off as much. You need to be focusing more on trying to be in a position where you can safely hit a forward position. I need the spot you're standing in and the spot you're contesting to be further away. You're contesting very good positions a lot of the time, but you're doing so from a lot of places that are going to get you in more trouble. You don't need to be as far forward as you're doing a lot of the time. And again, slower weapon, long rotations, big penalty for getting caught out on the open, especially when you're also the anchor weapon at times for your team to jump into. When it comes to defending, I think a lot of times you're tunneling on zone, especially with splashdowns. You need to focus more on helping your teammates clear the sides of the map and trying to get ample space. If you're defending in your base and you can hit a key position, you don't need to extend, like we talked about the previous point. And then splashdowns, I think, again, my general rule of thumb, your part of the splashdown should be safer. The fist can be peeking over a ledge or a wall or whatever and going for something. But splashdowns don't need to be as high value. I feel like a lot of this is just greeting for bigger plays that aren't necessary. Splashdown is not your playmaker of the kit. Your playmaker is the main weapon. You shouldn't be, like, extending for these really large splashdowns that I'm seeing. Other notes outside of that, I did never take a look at the gear thing. Let me take a look at the gear thing. Do we have ample swim speed? Let's see one of their players. I don't know who we killed at some point. I think we killed a pro? I don't know. I'm gonna assume we killed a pro. The pro is fighting on Snipe. Yes. Okay, I can see the gear. Okay. My big recommendation with this gear. Okay. I need you to get more swim speed than this. I definitely want you to have more swim speed than this. Please use at least, like, one main, one sub. You want to be swimming around and following opponents or backing up from them. You're a heavyweight weapon. You're very slow. More swim speed on the weapon will do absolute wonders for your movement and moving around the map. I would highly recommend it. Utility subs like a sub of bomb defense, I'd also recommend if we fight like Bucket or Stamper, S-Blast or whatever. All very effective. So, small note, I know gear isn't everything, but I figure I'd point it out. This is one of those weapons where one ability is very important, and that is swim speed. Yeah, for the most part, I like the aggressive gameplay you have. I like the amount of value you're trying to get. You're very clearly trying to, like, take a lot of space and scale, and that's good. But I need you to focus on doing it in a way that you keep your momentum going a little bit and try to stay in active positions longer. So, less center of the map, more safer positions. Still look for contesting a lot of the same areas, and try to keep it to where you're contesting these areas for longer periods of time. Alright. Next one.